For decades, the laws of ground warfare seemed settled. Power was measured in a delicate balance of speed, agility, and firepower. Armies invested trillions in vehicles designed to be fast, versatile, and capable of operating across vast distances. But what if that entire doctrine, the very foundation of modern military strategy, has just been rendered obsolete by a weapon that can be bought online for less than the price of a used car? A terrifying new reality is emerging from the fields of Ukraine, and it suggests the rules have been completely rewritten. On today's front line, there are only two ways to move. Either you go all in on the heaviest armor you can find, or you go with nothing at all. Anything in between has become a guaranteed death trap. The most shocking casualty of this new era isn't a specific tank or missile system. It's an entire class of vehicle that formed the backbone of Western military power for a generation. We're talking about the light armored vehicles, the wheeled fighting vehicles, the jack-of-all-trades that were supposed to dominate the modern battlefield. Vehicles like the American Humvee, once a symbol of mobility, or the French AMX-10 RC, a fast and powerful wheeled tank destroyer, are now seen as little more than coffins on wheels. These machines were perfected for the counter-insurgency wars of the 21st century, where the main threats were ambushes and roadside bombs. Against that, their light armor and speed were an asset. But on a battlefield saturated with cheap explosive first-person view drones, their design is a fatal flaw. A small $500 drone can now achieve what used to require a multi-million-dollar missile system, a catastrophic kill on a vehicle and its crew. Sending these vehicles anywhere near the front is no longer a calculated risk. It's a suicide mission. The brutal logic of the drone means there is no more middle ground. The space between a soldier on foot and a 70-ton tank has become an inescapable killing zone. With lighter vehicles being systematically eliminated, the battlefield has seen the unexpected and ironic return of a king many had declared dead, the main battle tank. For years, military analysts and futurists claimed the MBT was a relic. They argued it was too big, too expensive, and too vulnerable to modern anti-tank missiles. They were wrong. In a world where even a pickup truck can be vaporized from above, the sheer mass of thick, composite armor offered by a tank like a German Leopard 2 or an American M1 Abrams is one of the only things that can give a crew a fighting chance. But this is not the triumphant return of an invincible hero. It's a desperate adaptation. The shocking truth revealed in Ukraine is that even these behemoths are dangerously vulnerable in their standard configuration. To survive, they are being forced to undergo a series of crude, almost medieval-looking upgrades. Look at any footage from the front, and you'll see tanks covered in cages, dubbed cope cages, designed to prematurely detonate drones. They're being layered with blocks of explosive reactive armor, or ERA, which explode outwards to counter an incoming projectile. They're being fitted with sophisticated electronic jammers to sever the link between a drone and its pilot. The war has become so intense that even construction equipment, like the excavators digging trenches 20 kilometers behind the lines, is now being fitted with makeshift armor. The renaissance of the tank is real, but it's a clear sign of just how lethal the battlefield has become when even its most powerful titans must be covered in extra layers of steel just to survive the day. However, there's a giant billion-dollar elephant in the room that most of these frontline reports are missing. The brutal lessons from Ukraine might not be a universal blueprint for all future wars, and the reason is three simple words: total air superiority. The current conflict is, in many ways, a historical anomaly. It's a massive conventional war where neither side has been able to gain full control of the skies. This creates a unique vacuum where small, low-flying drones can operate with near impunity. Western military doctrine, particularly that of the United States and NATO, is built on the fundamental assumption that before ground troops ever move, the Air Force will dominate the battlefield. In that scenario, the drone threat looks very different. Fighter jets, attack helicopters, and high-altitude surveillance platforms would be tasked with hunting down and destroying drone launch sites and operators. The argument goes that a swarm of cheap drones is far less threatening when it's being targeted by an F-35 or an Apache helicopter. This raises a critical question that military planners are now grappling with. Are we witnessing the permanent death of wheeled vehicles, or are we simply seeing what happens in a specific rare type of conflict fought without a dominant air force? The answer could determine the shape of entire armies for the next 50 years. But as history has shown us time and time again, for every weapon, there is a counter-weapon. This vicious, never-ending cycle of action and reaction defines military evolution. The argument for air power isn't a silver bullet. Imagine NATO achieves air superiority. To avoid the ever-improving threat of portable anti-air missiles, or manpads, those expensive jets and helicopters would be forced to fly at higher altitudes. From 15,000 feet, spotting and engaging a two-man drone team hiding in a tree line becomes exponentially more difficult. This opens the door for the drones to continue to wreak havoc below. This dynamic is not new. It's a direct echo of the frantic arms race on the ground during World War II. Germany built the fearsome and heavily armored Tiger tank, believing it was invincible. In response, the Allies and the Soviets didn't necessarily build a better tank right away. They built cheaper, more numerous and highly effective anti-tank weapons like the bazooka and the Panzerfaust, which could be given to a single infantryman. The cheap counter eventually overwhelmed the expensive weapon. Today, the drone is the new Panzerfaust, and the main battle tank is the new Tiger. No matter how advanced the weapon, a cheaper, more accessible counter is always waiting in the wings to challenge its dominance. Faced with this terrifying new threat, the race is on to develop a technological shield. If more armor isn't the complete answer, perhaps the solution lies in creating an invisible, high-tech bubble around a vehicle. Engineers are scrambling to perfect what are known as active protection systems, or APS. One of the most famous is Israel's Iron Fist, a system that uses radar to detect an incoming missile or drone and then fires a small projectile to intercept and destroy it moments before impact. In theory, it's the ultimate defense. But in reality, it's a logistical nightmare. These systems are incredibly expensive, with a single unit costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. They also require a tremendous amount of electrical power, something that is already in short supply on a modern vehicle packed with sensors and communications gear. The idea of retrofitting an army's entire fleet of tens of thousands of vehicles is for now financially and practically impossible. Beyond APS, defense labs are deep into testing even more futuristic solutions. Reports claim successful tests of directed energy weapons, essentially powerful lasers that can burn a drone out of the sky. Others are developing microwave emitters that can project a beam of energy to fry the electronics of an entire drone swarm at once. These sci-fi shields are no longer just theory, but they are a long way from being a standard-issue piece of kit. For now, the drone remains the master of the battlefield. As the technological race rages on, soldiers on the ground are forced to innovate with what they have, leading to a brutal, almost primal adaptation. If the middle ground of armored vehicles is a death trap, some are swinging to the complete opposite extreme. Reports are beginning to surface of a radical new tactic: the rise of what could be called the Mad Max brigades. Small, elite squads are abandoning armor entirely, instead opting for hyper-light, high-speed transportation like dirt bikes, electric motorcycles, and even quad bikes. The strategy is a desperate gamble. It trades all protection for maximum speed and a minimal signature. The theory is that a small, fast-moving group can cross open ground and punch through enemy lines before a drone operator can even spot them, react, and launch an attack. It is a tactic born of pure necessity, a high-risk, high-reward maneuver where survival is measured in seconds. The calculus is as simple as it is brutal. You might lose a high percentage of your force, but the ones who make it through could achieve a strategic breakthrough that would be impossible for a slow-moving armored column. It's a return to cavalry-style tactics in the 21st century, a shocking reminder that when technology creates a seemingly unsolvable problem, human desperation often finds a daring and dangerous solution. This entire evolution, from drones in the air to desperate motorcycle charges on the ground, is all pointing toward one inevitable conclusion. The greatest vulnerability on the modern battlefield is no longer the thickness of a vehicle's armor, but the soft, fragile human being sitting inside it. Therefore, the most logical next step in warfare is to simply remove the human from the equation entirely. If unmanned aerial vehicles have redefined the skies, then unmanned ground vehicles are set to do the same to the land. The concept of the drone tank is rapidly moving from science fiction to reality. Imagine a combat vehicle designed without the need for a crew compartment, life support, or safety controls. It could be radically lighter, faster, and more durable. It could be sent on missions deemed too hazardous for human crews, absorbing losses that would be politically and morally unacceptable with soldiers. The true revolution sparked by the drone wasn't just the creation of a cheap flying bomb. It was the proof of concept for automated, remote-controlled warfare on a massive scale. The future of ground combat is being written right now, and it is a ghost in the machine. The battlefield as we knew it has been shattered. The versatile, middle-ground vehicles that defined military doctrine for a half-century have been exposed as tragically vulnerable, their era brought to an abrupt and violent end. In their place, we see a battlefield of extremes, the return of the heavily armored titans, layered in desperate, makeshift defenses, pitted against the rise of cheap, disposable drone technology. But this is just a temporary phase. While the tank may be king for a day, the long-term trends are clear. The future of war doesn't belong to any single vehicle. It belongs to rapid adaptation, to technological counters, and, most chillingly, to automation. The final, thought-provoking truth is that the hero of the next great war might not be a brave soldier in a cockpit or a tank commander peering through a periscope. It may very well be a young operator, sitting in a comfortable chair thousands of miles from the danger, controller in hand, fighting a war of machines where the front line is just pixels on a screen.